Alright guys, we're having a look at my 1987 Dodge Ram 50, otherwise known as a Mitsubishi Mighty Max rat rod. So it's a bit rough on the outside, but that kind of gives it the cool sleeper look. Wheels will end up getting changed out, suspension, end up dropping it. But what we got inside is a Nissan KA24DE turbo that I've swapped in. So basics about the swap. This is a KA24DE from a S13, not sure what year model, and a 5-speed transmission out of the S13 as well. Basically, I custom fabricated all the mounts, which I don't know if you can see. Not too well, but basically I ended up chopping the stock engine brackets, re-welding them, and using some polyurethane bushings meant for an S13 to fit the frame rail and the Mitsubishi Mighty Max. So turbo setup, it's just a Chinese T3 turbo. I don't recall the specs. I think it's the turbine housing is 63 AR. Not sure on the compressor though. I'd have to look it up. But it's your standard $150 Chinese turbo. We got a cast log manifold that I've had to do some modifications to make it fit correctly, because an $80 part from Amazon doesn't eBay rather, doesn't necessarily fit right out of the box. So had to elongate some holes so it sits flush across the top of the cylinder head and seals, because I was running into some exhaust leak type stuff. As you can see, the exhaust is my hater stack here, which you'll see later, comes out of the top of the hood. Let's see, got your basic Chinese intercooler kit, which you can kind of see here across the front. There's your intercooler, loops back around, Chinese blow-off valve that we TIG welded on there. Looks okay. And then of course back into the intake manifold there. Fuel system is kind of, you're not going to be able to see it, but I picked up the stock hard lines from the tank down here with some adapters to -6 AN line, and I ran PTFE grade fuel line kind of up, and it goes across, comes up to fuel filter, again Amazon Chinese special, to a Bosch 044 pump, that's real, then through a bunch of cobbled up fittings that I need to redo, into the fuel rail. These are 1200cc side feed injectors, just Chinese specials. Anyway, back out of the rail, -6 again, to a Chinese regulator, and then of course return back to the tank. I guess we'll talk about power. Power comes from the battery, which I've mounted under the bed because there's no room in the engine compartment. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. Yeah, there you go. So I got a cool All-Star cheapo battery bracket, welded it to the frame. There's a yellow top there. Anyway, power comes back under the truck with some, I think that's 1/0 cable to the bus bar. Branches off, goes to the starter of course, and then runs back across a cab here into my power distribution center. Anyway, runs into bus bar, fuse blocks, and relays. So I got This is your ECU and ignition relay. I may isolate that to where I have ECU and ignition, basically add another relay. This fuel pump, I'm sorry, this relay controls the fuel pump, which draws about around 10 amps or so. And then this one here is for the electric fans, which you can see here, which are two spow, I want to say they're 12-inch fans. They're real spow fans. The radiator here is from an S13 as well, Chinese special. It actually fit pretty good in the truck. Just had to make some mounts on the bottom there of the old core support to kind of pick it up. And then you can see I just fabbed some little steel brackets to hold it in there. I know I'm a little bit all over the place with this thing, but since I'm looking at it, let's talk about ignition. The distributor, or OE distributor, is not being utilized to carry the spark to the spark plugs. Basically inside there's a optical wheel that DIY Auto-Tune uses, or otherwise known as the Megasquirt guys. So there's a wheel in there with excuse me, 22 slots in it, and then 2 missing teeth, and then the ECU reads that as basically a crank position sensor. Those signals are then piped into the Megasquirt, which we'll talk about later inside, and then Megasquirt sends out the signals to the quad spark box, which can drive 4 ignition signals, but I'm only utilizing 2 of them in this configuration via wasted spark. So you have your cylinders 1 and 4 and 2 and 3 and wasted spark, and these are both sold and made by the DIY Auto-Tune Megasquirt guys. This is called the IGN4 coil. They're pretty decently priced. Just bought some cheap cut to fit spark plug wires, and they're kind of just stuck on the spark plugs. Let's see, I think that kind of covers engine. Well, let's talk about the engine itself. So when I got the engine, I went through the whole entire thing, took it apart. It's stock pistons, but I did put new rings in it, and I gapped them for boost. I think 22 thousandths on the top ring, 24 thousandths on the middle ring. Put new rod bearings in it, ARP rod bolts, torqued all that to spec. Cylinders looked great. The bore didn't need any oversize or anything. So the engine is all nice and healthy. In addition to that, I did of course all your time and chain stuff, all the gears, all the tensioners, the chain of course. Let's see, new oil pump, front housing, water pump, new water pump of course. So it's essentially a stock-ish block, just kind of gapped for boost. Let's see. So I did kind of lower the compression. So under the head gasket, there's I want to say it's 35 thousandths steel shim. So you got the deck, and then you got a steel shim, and then the head gasket. So it picks the whole head up just a little bit. I'm not sure what that'll actually yield in you know, compression difference. But you know, I just kind of did it because it was cheap. So we'll see how it holds up. So let's see. Going through the drivetrain here, so we got, of course, the KA24DE S13 5-speed transmission, which goes to the stock cross member in the Mighty Max, which is kind of modified just a little bit. I had to kind of channel it and notch it and weld the plate back in. Stock S13 output yoke, and then I had a custom drive shaft made by Ron's Drive Shafts, or Ron's Driveline here in Gainesville, Georgia. Outstanding work, very reasonably priced. I think I got the drive shaft made, which is, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Well, yeah, you can't really see because of lighting, but yeah, he retubed it, new U-joints, and then going back to the stock axle flange back here, adapted it all up. All said and done, I was in about $275 on that. So again, pretty awesome. I guess we'll take a peek inside. So got some bench seat from a junkyard, which is actually pretty clean. The carpet's very clean, actually. There's some junk laying around, but don't mind that. So yeah, it's just, you know, everything's pretty stock looking, but I guess you will notice here, don't mind the wideband chilling right there right now. But I have a tablet that is wired, or not wired, but communicates via Bluetooth to the Megasquirt, which is a Gen 2 MS2 PNP, so the plug and play for the KA. That's kind of chilling down here, which I need to make some brackets for, so it's not just, you know, basically laying on the floor right now. But anyway, there's the little Bluetooth dongle that DIY Auto-Tune sells to communicate with your tablet, and you can see once I keyed on, Megasquirt's already there running, or not Megasquirt, but Tuner Studio. And then I'll probably get like the Shadow Dash app or MS Droid, so it's just gauges and there won't be any, you know, tuning functions, so it'll look a little more like a instrument cluster, but it serves a purpose. It's just mounted with like a Chinese kind of ram mount type thing to the hood of the instrument cluster there. I guess you can look, there's still kind of a hole in the floor because the old Mighty Max transmission shifter would have came out here, but the S13 trans is quite a bit longer, so I had to cut the drive shaft transmission tunnel out a bit to have clearance. This shifter is kind of hack. It's stock S13 shifter, and then I welded the factory Mighty Max gear shift lever to it, so it's got a huge long throw, but it works for now. So I guess I'll fire it up. You can see. So I cranked it a little bit earlier, and you can see my coolant temp here is about 146. So it's been running for about 5 minutes before I started this video. But this is cool. So, you know, I'll have tachometer, all that good stuff. I'll wire in the VSS from the S13 transmission and I'll wire it into the Megasquirt option connector, and I'm hoping that the Gen 2 Megasquirt will pick up the VSS signal, so I'll have speedometer. Because as of right now, when I drive it, I just have to have a GPS going on my phone, which is not very convenient, but I think this works for now. But she's running pretty healthy. I've got it tuned for about 9 pounds of boost right now, which is more than enough to light up these old junky tires that are on the back of this thing. So it'll once it starts building boost in second gear, these suckers will easily break loose. So that'd be pretty cool. Once I get some different wheels and dump it, and some stickier tires for more traction, should launch pretty good. But yeah, you guys, kind of loud, but that's it. Runs pretty well. Try to kill it. That's about it. I guess I didn't talk about that I put basically a Chinese stage 3 clutch in the transmission. It seems to actually hold the power very well. Oh, speaking of which, so the Mighty Max had factory, it had a cable that came out here for the clutch because it was cable driven, and I've converted this to hydraulic because of the S13 transmission uses a hydraulic slave and master. So it's actually relatively easy. Kind of cut out the hole where the cable was, just picked up a couple of mounting points and used a master cylinder for an S13 and a slave cylinder for an S13, and then there's steel braided line that runs down to that. And there's some little tweaking that you have to do to the linkage under the dash to work with the hydraulic master cylinder, but I think you guys get the idea. I can, give more details if somebody's interested. I think the only thing I didn't talk about yet was probably the crankcase system or PCV, or your all your blow-by gases. So it runs out of the valve cover to a catch can that I mounted right here beside the radiator, which is also tied into the factory. You're not going to be able to see it. The factory little PCV or PCV check valve thing that's kind of right under here on the front timing cover. Anyway, those run into the bottom of the catch can, and then on the top port of the catch can, right, man, you're not gonna be able to see it. Anyway, the top port of the catch can runs back, and then kind of pulls some vacuum from the inlet of the turbocharger. So far, maybe 50 miles on the build. I haven't seen any oil accumulation in there, just water from moisture and atmosphere. So that seems to be working pretty good. I think that's about it. I'd love to find like that cool kind of more JDM looking sport bumper to put on the front. Some fender flares would be cool to do, and kind of have some wider wheels, fender flares back and front. So we'll see. Once I get some more money and stuff, I'll probably play with some of that stuff. But I'm just gonna keep, for now, I'm just gonna keep working on the tune and, you know, try to build up some more boost. I think on the wastegate, oh, I didn't talk about that. You're not gonna be able to see it, but it's under the turbocharger there, off of the turbocharger manifold, exhaust manifold. Just bolts on the side. It's like a 38 millimeter Chinese job. So, you know, you buy those things, you take them apart, you got to polish up the shafts in them and RTV the bolts inside, all that good stuff, so they work correctly. But the wastegate, there's some stainless steel tubing, 1.5 inch, that we fabricated, that runs off the wastegate, kind of goes back that direction and then dumps straight down, and just atmospheric dump there. It's just the boost control right now. There's a Mac valve right here, which is very crudely mounted. I need to build a L bracket. I'll probably just come off of like right there and build an L bracket and kind of attach it more correctly. Yeah, so hoping to run, you know, maybe we'll see if it holds, you know, 15 to 18 pounds of boost. I'm trying my best to make 400 horsepower. We'll see what happens. All right.